presidential election, a formal process in which voters choose the head of the country. Inflation, the rate of increase in prices.
Income taxes, a type of tax governments impose on the income, like business and
We choose freedom. Just have to look at where we are and where we stand on the issues. And I'd invite you to know that Donald Trump actually has no plan for you because he is more interested in defending himself than he is in looking out for you.
She doesn't have a plan. She copied Biden's plan, and it's like 4 sentences, like run, spot, run. 4 sentences that are just, oh, we'll try and lower taxes. She doesn't have a plan. Take a look at her plan. She doesn't have a plan.
President Trump were elected 4 years ago, and your opponent on the stage here tonight often asks his supporters, are you better off than you were 4 years ago? When it comes to the economy, do you believe Americans are better off than they were 4 years ago?
So I was raised as a middle-class kid, and I am actually the only person on this stage who has a plan that is about lifting up the middle class and working people of America. I believe in the ambition, the aspirations, the dreams of the American people. And that is why I imagine and have actually a plan to build what I call an opportunity economy. Because here's the thing. We know that we have a shortage of homes and housing, and the cost of housing is too expensive for far too many people. We know that young families need support to raise their children, and I intend on extending a tax cut for those families of $6,000, which is the largest child tax credit that we have given in a long time, so that those young families can afford to buy a crib, buy a car seat, buy clothes for their children. My passion, one of them, is small businesses. My mother raised my sister and me, but there was a woman who helped raise us. We call her our second mother. She was a small business owner. I love our small businesses. My plan is to give a $50,000 tax deduction to start up small businesses, knowing they are part of the backbone of America's economy. My opponent, on the other hand, his plan is to do what he has done before, which is to provide a tax cut for billionaires and big corporations, which will result in $5 trillion to America's deficit. My opponent has a plan that I call the Trump sales tax, which would be a 20% tax on everyday goods that you rely on to get through the month. Economists have said that Trump sales tax would actually result for middle-class families in about $4,000 more a year because of his policies and his ideas about what should be the backs of middle-class people paying for tax cuts.
In addition to the capital gains tax she proposed, today she also announced that she wants to do a $50,000 tax deduction on expenses for small businesses. That's an increase in the tax break from $5,000 for startups. She also has a goal of 25 million new business applications in her first term, were she to win. And this builds on other key proposals that she's already outlined as early as last month of her economic proposals that include the construction of 3 million new housing units, $25,000 down payment assistance for first-time homebuyers, a federal ban on price gouging food and groceries, and she wants to raise the corporate tax rate from 21% to 28%. She also wants to permanently expand the child tax credit to $6,000 for middle and low-income families for the first year of their child's life. And she's also made the promise that President Biden made, which was to not raise taxes on people making less than $400,000 a year. So ultimately, a lot of her proposals are very similar.
On my first day back in the Oval Office, I will sign an executive order directing every cabinet secretary and agency head to use every tool and authority at their disposal to defeat inflation and to bring consumer prices rapidly down. It will be a whole of government effort to raise the standard of living and make American life affordable again.
Donald Trump has provided little specifics on how exactly he would lower inflation, but here's what we do know about his economic policy. He said that he wants to cut taxes for corporations, lowering the rate from 21% to 15%, eliminate taxes on tips and Social Security benefits, institute a 10 to 20% tariffs on all foreign goods with an extra focus on China, imposing tariffs of 60% on Chinese imports. And he wants to make those 2017 tax cuts permanent. Now, those 2017 tax cuts, which saw the corporate rate be implemented at 21%, and individual tax cuts across all earners, especially top earners. Those tax cuts are going to expire next year, so he wants to make them.
President candidate, do you think has the best idea for the United States economy?
When thinking about the economy, I personally would say that Vice President Harris has the best idea for the economy. I like her ideas of, well, in one way I like that she is thinking about how to help small businesses, and she wants to make taxes less on people that have less money and more on people that have more money. Donald Trump really just wants to cut taxes for everyone, and I really worry about what that would do to our country if we would have enough money to give people like the health care or the help that they need, especially like we have so many big hurricanes and natural disasters. We need to make sure the United States has enough money to pay for helping people when these kinds of things happen. And I think Vice President Harris has a much better plan to do that than former President Donald Trump.
What do you think about Trump?
What do I think about Trump?
About Trump.
So Donald Trump kind of gave tax bracket for people who have higher income that they don't pay as much tax as they're supposed to be. So it's kind of like give the rich people that will become richer in the future. But what about middle class people? For people who like working class, like teacher. So on the other hand, Harris is someone who wants to support middle class for working class. And I think one of the policy that she advocates is to have student loan forgiveness for working class, for teachers. So for that reason, I think if we support more middle class, which is majority of Americans, American economy will be better. It's not just for the few people who are rich, who are in a higher income, the top 5% rich people.
In conclusion, based on interviews and research, my group thinks that Harris has better idea for the middle class and more economic supports for the economy.